Go ahead.
Aw, yay! Well, oh my gosh, you guys. Oh, I am so excited that joy through the journey, and I love music. So I was just thankful that Mary asked me to share the joyful song of my journey. But actually, in the question, hey Mary, can you pull up the text that you sent me of the question that you were going to ask? Because I'm recording on my phone, so I can't pull it up. So that would be awesome. But she said, "This is the question. Can I take? I really, I'm going to wear these as long as I can, but then I'll take them off." But she, go ahead. Okay, thank you, Robin. Okay, so the question that she sent to me in a text to kind of spark the idea of the direction to share with you and you guys. So I read the question, but it didn't really hit me until a few hours ago. When I really started pulling my thoughts together, and I read her question again, and I went, oh my goodness. So she's looking it up for me. This is what I'm going to tell you. This whole week, starting Sunday, my son came home from college Friday. On Sunday, the night before he was going to go home, he had a fever. We weren't sure if it was COVID because of symptoms, and we said, all right, you're not going back to college. Everyone's staying home. So this whole week, my whole family of 7, I have 5 kids, has been home. And then boom, it was Friday, right? Me being caretaker at home. But we went back into quarantine mode. And in quarantine, we did puzzles. And so I pulled out the table on Monday and I dumped the puzzle pieces. And as we have been doing this puzzle, I keep thinking all week, oh my gosh, there are so many analogies to puzzle making, to my Mary Kay business, and to everyone's Mary Kay business. Do you have the question, Mary? Wait, you're muted. Hold on, unmute.
I do. So, Gina, you made your decision to do Mary Kay as a young Army wife, teaching at a high school in Tombstone, Arizona. You could never have imagined how it would fit into the experiences you have dealt with in your life now. How have the amazing puzzle pieces of your life been influenced by that initial decision to become a Mary Kay consultant?
Oh my gosh. So all week I've been doing this puzzle thinking this is going to make a great speech one day. And then I opened up her question and I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's Saturday. So the puzzle pieces, this is what I want to share with you. One, every time you have a puzzle, there's the box. That is the complete vision, that when it's all done, this is the beautiful thing that you are putting together. So there's a picture. That's the biggest piece overall, that there is a vision, right? Vision in the picture is the box of it all put together. And when you start a puzzle, after the dumping of all of it and turning them all over, you find the corners and the edges. And you take all the edges and the corners because that gives you a framework to start with. And I kept thinking, the edges, here they are. If you want to take some notes. One, the products. These edges have kept me in Mary Kay for 21 years. Okay, the products, for sure. Number 2, the priorities, the balance and the freedom that those priorities have provided. The third edge is the goals and the team player. And of course, why do we have so many words that start with P? But the fact that it brought out the player in me, like Cindy Williams says, it did bring out the player because I'm a great team player. And having little goals and big goals, you're going to hear that through the stories. And then the fourth side was the people. Not only the consultants and sales directors who are great friends, but the people I serve through my customers. And those 4 things, when I think about my journey, those are the 4 things that have kept the vision alive as the puzzle has come together. And so the pieces were truly the instrument, the joy, the music, right? As the puzzle pieces have been fitting together, they have been the joyful part of the journey. And there's just the ebb and the flow. And one of my favorite quotes, it's in my vision book that I read, but my sister sent it to me. It says, you are an instrument. Regard yourself completely as an instrument so that you treat your most frequently demanded talents not as something you use, but as God working through you. That we are the instrument as the puzzle pieces keep falling together. And so as I thought about my answer to Mary's question, I thought, well, let's look at the puzzle pieces, not as Mary Kay first, but as just what would have happened in my life anyway. And then how did being in Mary Kay affect the beauty of those puzzle pieces fitting together? So the first part is, as she said, I started as an Army wife in Arizona. That's my connection to so many of these Arizona women. And then within a few weeks, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks, we moved all across the country to Virginia. I knew one person, one solitary person, in this new town that I lived in. And so for me, starting out my Mary Kay journey, Mary said, "Look in the phone book." Y'all, we had phone books that we would look up 21 years ago. And she said, "Look up Mary Kay directors." And so I looked it up. I found one. I called, and she said, "We have our meetings on whatever. Come on in." And so I don't know anyone. That took a lot of, y'all see me as the confident Gina now, and I'm a confident person, but I mean, I think anyone's going to be a little bit intimidated to walk into a room where they know no one and you're brand new. And so I walked into the hotel, and they had a conference room or whatever. And so they were all huddled in a circle, which is not how they normally do the meetings, but that night they were. And so I was a little late, I guess. I don't know. They had already started, and I'm like, I didn't think I was late. And so I sat behind in the back and just kind of like watched and observed and had no idea what I was doing. They were introducing and going around. And then when they came to me, basically, long story short, I was in the wrong meeting. There's 2 Mary Kay meetings in the same hotel. And they were like, "You're supposed to be with Susan." So I wasn't late, but then I was late. I'm like, oh, great. So now let me go next door to the other meeting of the lady I called. So scared. But this is what I'll tell you. Within, I don't know, probably a few months, Todd and I went out to eat. And when we were at this restaurant, I, at numerous times, was like, "Hey," or "Oh my gosh, you're here." Enough times where Todd was like, "Gina, we have lived in this city just, whatever, a few months, and you know more people, than I could even imagine. I'm going to work." And so it was just so funny. I'm like, when I thought about it, I'm like, they're all Mary Kay connections. They were all through either my Mary Kay sisterhood or the few customers that it was just crazy. So I thought, being in a new town, my Mary Kay made that initial experience so different. It's so much more enriched. We do enrich people's lives because I was a high school teacher. So I did have my coworkers, and obviously I'm new in the neighborhood. So I did have my neighbors, but I had them on a whole deeper level because I had a reason to get to know them and spend more time with them. So with coworkers, rather than just passing in the hallway, and I hated the teacher's lounge. Y'all know that's just a negative, gripey place. So I never lingered there. But it was a place to like pull them away and like get to know them better. Hey, I need a face. And so my connections with coworkers and neighbors got deeper because I had an excuse to sit with them longer and get to know them. And that happened again in the high school, but also in my neighborhood when I was scared to death to have my first open house that only one person came to. But she was the neighbor that I drummed up enough courage to walk over to the other court and ask. And so that newness part of my life was so different because of Mary Kay. Then the other newness part of my life was new kids. So I'm a high school teacher. I get pregnant. And for those who don't know my story, the way I tell it is I had a kid, and then I earned a car. And then I had a kid, and then I earned another car. And then I had a kid, and then I earned another car, because we have a 2-year car program, and I basically have a 2-year baby making program. And so I just offset them. So I kept having babies, and I kept earning cars. But I wasn't high school teaching anymore. So when I got pregnant, those last few months of pregnancy, that was my final years of teaching, because I didn't want to be in that, employee working environment as a mom. And I was already in Mary Kay, just doing it on the side for fun, part-time consultant. And I thought, this is my avenue that I don't have to return to work and can. So in that first year, I did move up to directorship, earn that first car with an infant, but it really gave me something other than so many stories, being the stay-at-home mom, right? As someone who is driven, who is goal-oriented, so thankful to be able to have that opportunity to earn cars while popping out babies. So when the fourth car came along, and then of course the fourth pregnancy, things changed in my life a lot. So I had 3 boys, and my fourth pregnancy was with Cody, my fourth boy. And we found out while I was pregnant that he had a very complex congenital heart defect. So multiple things wrong with his heart, and that he would have to immediately have his first heart surgery when he was born. And so, everything changed. That was in 2008. I had been in the company for 8 years by then. And we had just earned our first pink Cadillac the year before. So when things are rocking and rolling and we're buying a new house, we've made it, we've arrived. And all of a sudden it was like, Your life is going to take a completely different direction. We still got the new house and all that good stuff. But what happened was basically a 4-year fog. I didn't know it was a fog when I was in it. Because when you're in it, you take it day by day. It wasn't until I was completely out of it, looking back, that I'm like, whoo, that was really foggy. But I kept taking one step at a time. So he was born in 2008. And he did have his first heart surgery at 9 days old. Many, many complications over those 4 years. Ended up having 4 heart surgeries where they opened his chest, multiple caths where they go in. I lived in the hospital with him for months at a time. And so those puzzle pieces would have been there anyway. But because Mary Kay was already in my life, it was really interesting when I look back, because I've met many people over my 21 years who had a life crisis. And that was their reason or their excuse for stopping their Mary Kay, for getting out, because they wanted to focus. But for me, it was a connection to a world that wasn't a crisis. It was an opportunity to give, because we know it's biblical. It's in giving that we receive. And when you need the hope and the positive and the smiles and all of that, we have to actually take the step to enter that world, right? And I could enter that world by giving sample goodie bags to the nurses, by giving facials to the other mamas and saying, come to my room, I've got Mary Kay, and it wasn't for the purpose of selling, it was for the purpose of giving and through that receiving. And so for me, it was a lifeline. I think about it also, it also was a purpose, because I had a purpose of totally making sure Cody was good and I was on top of everything with the doctors. But it also was a purpose, again, outside of the crisis, but it was flexible and fulfilling. It wasn't like if I had still been a teacher, having to do lesson plans, for a sub. I didn't have to do things when I didn't want to do them, but I could do them when I chose to do them. And so it was such a positive thing in my life. The other thing is, I literally lived in the hospital with him, and I had an office assistant. So the fact that I had worked when I could, not because I had to before, right? Because I didn't have to. Todd had a good job. I could have, stayed teaching. I didn't need it for the money. But when I chased it when it was fun, when it was flexible and all of that, and created a Cadillac unit and created a great income, not knowing what was to come, I had an office assistant who was literally filling orders while I was in the hospital. And I think now, oh my gosh, I could have done them all through CDS. I could have been at the bedside just filling orders with a click of a button on my phone. How different now, but I'm so thankful that I worked when I could. So that was the Cody time frame, 2008 to 2012, all his surgeries. And then that third kind of time frame of the different puzzle pieces kind of pulling together. Well, I had my 5th child during all of that, to just imagine. So I had my little girl. And so now we're on the end where now we've got kids in all ages, right? In all the schools, in the preschool, the elementary, the middle, and the high. And we're all spread out. And it's the crazy chaos, right, of the zoo, of a kid getting ready for college and college visits and SATs. And then one who's in all the different bands and karate, and a travel soccer kid and another karate kid. And then Sydney, as the years go on, being a travel gymnast. Lots of schedules to juggle. Again, another reason that through the years, people have said, that's when I stopped my Mary Kay. But when I look at it with the puzzle pieces through the Mary Kay eyes, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I hadn't still held on and loved this Mary Kay journey, I would have gotten lost. And so I have always made sure that just as important as those gymnastics and soccer and karates and band is my appointments, right? I'm important. My oxygen mask on me first. And the best thing I can give those kids is to see a mom who's committed, who shows up, right? When she doesn't want to. How do you think they learn that? To go into practices or finishing the season when they don't want to, or rallying around and being a team player, or going for the goal, all of those different aspects that I would encourage them to. It wasn't just a voice speaking. They were seeing it in action because I made sure I was important on that crazy schedule too. So it was never because we're all in this together, not you're in this. We're all in this together. And so I'm just so thankful that I didn't get lost in that shuffle, and that Mary Kay Ash mindset. I will tell you guys, I am going through Darren Hardy. He's success and, you know, motivator and success speaker. I mean, he's big dog across the world, like international. And he's doing this year-long course of leaders in the 21st century, or I guess whatever it is, leaders now, whatever, 2021 and beyond, whatever he's calling it. And I'm telling you, it's Mary Kay Ash training. It really, I mean, I'm thankful for it, and I love what we're learning. But I think, gosh, do people even realize that we've been having this amazing leadership mentality that we've been passing on to our kids since 1963? It's unbelievable. So another thing that was been kind of crazy in this time with the 5 kids, there was a time where Todd's job, it was up in the air. It was a stressful 2 years. He's in a, you know, top kind of management type position in his company, and they were cutting people at all levels. It wasn't just the people at the bottom. And so, and he was the main breadwinner. I mean, I made good money in Mary Kay for sure as a Cadillac $500,000 director. I mean, those are great paychecks. But I will tell you, a lot of times people share their stories and they're like, okay, when things were rough, I stepped up my Mary Kay, right? Thank goodness Mary Kay was there and I could step it up. Well, my story is not that. When he was like, Gina, I might not have a job, so step up your Mary Kay. Well, again, looking back, hindsight, I wasn't doing so hot. And I'm like, what is wrong with you, Gina? Your family needs you. You should be stepping up, right? You should be making more than you ever could. You have the possibility. I mean, you have the permission. You have everything. And there's a lot of self-discovery. I'm so thankful for the leadership training, the psychology training, the people management training, the self-discovery, because what I discovered was my basic need is freedom and choice. If my basic need was safety and security, I would have taken off because that would have been a need. I need to keep everyone safe and secure. But I thrive when I'm free to choose. And in that situation, it was, you have to. And that shut me down. But once I learned that about myself, thank goodness for the self-discovery, for the communication among leadership that we can pass on to the consultants, that then that lesson I learned when things were really rocky, and Todd did change jobs, that during 2020, I could take what I learned and go, I'm freedom and choice. And now I'm going to filter that crisis through different eyeballs, right? And then use that to bless other people so they can filter how are they handling 2020. So, and I would say with all the 4 corners, you know, the goals of being a team player, that kept me going day to day, month to month, year to year, right? To be able to be a part of a team. The people, you know, when there was a rocky time for an outside situation, actually it was like 4 or 5 months ago that something happened outside of Mary Kay, and I thought, how is Mary Kay Corporate going to deal with this? And I was scared, and I thought, can I still be a part of this company based on how they respond to this situation? And it was a face in my face. What if Mary Kay wasn't in your life anymore? And it was a true coming apart, you guys. It was an identity crisis because I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it isn't a worshiping Mary Kay thing. It's so much who my family is, who we are, how we think, and my people. I would have missed my people. I'm doing like, I picture my puzzle with the edges, but the people of my customers that would not, what would be my reason for connecting with all of these amazing people on a regular basis? It would be gone. What would be the purpose or the opportunity to have things like this to be enriched? It would be gone, right? And the products. I think the 2020, if anything, everyone fell in love even more, like a love affair with our products. We have so much time, right? To discover them again and share them again. And so I will tell you, I'm wrapping it up. 20 minutes. How do you do a 20-year career in 20 minutes? That was how. Okay, so, but as we've been working on this puzzle on this table, I realized, oh my gosh, at the beginning, it was my idea. Think about an entire Mary Kay journey before someone starts their career. I want to do this. It's my idea, right? And no one wanted to. I mean, my kids have been helping me, but it's not like they all went, yay, let's do a puzzle and ran downstairs. Okay, they didn't. So they ate the 10 to 19-year-old. So I get the box, I pick it out, I dump it. I'm like, y'all gonna help me? That's the easiest job ever, is turning them all over. No. So I'm like, the initial things, let's turn them all over, setting up the systems, right? And throughout the process, There's spurts. There's spurts where there's a couple of us around the table and it's fun to do it with people. And there's times where it's just me. It's just me. And there are times where I look at the puzzle and I'm like, I'm looking for that one piece, right? And then I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming to find that one piece in that mass of puzzle pieces. But when I look in the mass and I just go, hey there, where do you belong? And I see where it fits in the big vision, I find it. And I'm like, that's where you go. And I just thought that's what we do in our Mary Kay, right? We have this massive puzzle pieces and we go, you're in my life right now, whether it's a person or a situation. We go, where are you going to fit? And we fit it in and we just know with joy that all things, right? It is the music of the journey, that it all flows together. And when we stay in, keeping our eye on those 4 boundaries, that it is, we know with confidence, is going to paint or create that beautiful puzzle by the very, very end. So that is my story.